Hi, this is Shelby from Turn Sounds. Go check the oil level in your car.
Hey, I'm Abbey, a clinical nutritionist.
And I'm Shelby, a clinical exercise physiologist, and this is the Move Your Mind podcast.
We are sick and tired of people being led astray by false information about diet and exercise.
So join us as we discuss common misconceptions about food and fitness with the latest scientific research.
Let's get into it. All right, guys, we're on.
We're on.
Oh, in typical Abbey style, I just put a post on my Instagram saying I'm going to talk about toning up, which is kind of losing body fat mass, increasing muscle mass. What do my followers want to know about that topic? This was an hour before we were recording. I'm not sure why I decided to, but there was just something in my brain that was like, there's more to this. I want to give the people what they want.
That's what we did this podcast for. I can't believe we haven't done it before this.
I know.
It's such a good idea.
I'm not sure. I think there's been enough. Well, personally, I've had enough ideas on all the other topics that I'm like, if people input, I'm going to get confused. And that's exactly what's happened. Not confused. But it's just introduced a multitude of factors, which I actually think is going to really increase the quality of what I was going to talk about, because I've gone down a rabbit hole, but I actually loved it.
So fun, hey?
But now I'm a little bit nervous because I'm like, how am I going to make this concise and make sense and not go too far into the nerd stuff?
All right, I'll stop you.
Okay. Can you be my
good.
my nerd radar?
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
But I was doing the thing that I do when I get overwhelmed or there's too many ideas in my head, I can't sit down. So I was pacing around like my desk and being like, I can't do this. Like, what about this? I was printing out pictures of diagrams, and this was like 20 minutes before I drove here.
Cute. Because I was like sipping my coffee, like just kind of waiting for you to come. And then like checking Instagram, and then I see this post from 20 minutes ago. Hey guys, tell me what you want to know. I went, brave girl.
Oh,
brave girl.
Too brave, too ambitious. But you know what, guys? I'm going to give it my best shot.
And we'll definitely do it again in the future, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's a good help, and you guys are going to get what you want, which is the purpose of this
That's what we want.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did want to start with a bit of a disclaimer, a preface about the topic, because it's about toning up. It's about losing fat, gaining muscle, and talking about weight or like more aesthetic things is not usually my priority. I do like to talk about the workings of the human body or the benefits. Rather than how we look, because I don't think that should be the focus of health goals.
In saying that, though, people want to know.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think that shying away from this type of stuff doesn't do any benefit, because then I think it allows people that may not actually be educated in the field to be a primary source of information. I'm thinking skinny teas and waist trainers to tone up, and ridiculous high intensity workout programs and extreme calorie deficits. And that's not what I want either. And that's not what we want. And that's why we created this podcast too, to use our experience and our knowledge to provide clarity in this crazy world.
Yeah. From an educated source, either us or we know how to access those educated sources.
Yeah. So I think after my internal battle, I'm actually quite happy to be talking about this.
I think you did good. Yeah. And it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's fun to push your knowledge and understanding on things.
Yeah, but also, like, I don't see wanting to be more toned or toning up as a negative thing, because by decreasing, it depends where you start, but by wanting to build muscle mass and like decrease fat mass slightly to make your muscles more visible, I think that comes with some healthy behaviors to achieve that goal. It's like increasing exercise, being smarter about the way you move your body and the way you train, and also being more mindful of what you put in your body. So I think if there's going to be some sort of aesthetic goal, I think wanting to look more toned is probably one of the best ones.
Yeah. And I've wanted to bring this up before, because I almost use that as like my shorter term goals, so that, we work out, or I like to say we work out for bone health and for mental health and for whatever. But I'm setting up my workouts going, I want to keep building my shoulders, and I want to make sure that my triceps look good, and I want to make sure my butt still is looking
Perky.
good, and my leg, it definitely plays into my shorter term programs and goals and stuff. So you can't hide away from it.
No.
And so it's using it, accurately, and not just letting that be your main focus. So
yes, but the hope is that if the initial goal is to be more toned, the practices that you do to achieve that goal make you realize that there's a lot more than the aesthetic draw of being more toned. It's a functionality, it's the improved confidence, it's the better eating habits that come with that.
Yeah, and even, I know I think this is going to be a bit ad hoc today. Even if I get clients coming in with that as a main goal, I very quickly am able to introduce new goals to them, because they realize, if I do this, then I can feel better in this, and I can eat better this way, and I have more energy in this situation. So more than likely you get to the other stuff anyway.
And I like the term being toned as well, because I think it can be quite individualized. Because if you think about, old school aesthetic goals, like the model type, like the really thin and small and things, like not everyone can achieve that depending on bone structure and height and the width of your pelvis for females. Like
thinking
as soon
thigh
as
gaps.
But being toned, it's actually very individual. Everyone can be more toned, and it's something that everyone can achieve.
And by toned, we're saying more muscle definition, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, exactly. Definition of toned, which is what we're going to be talking about, is making your muscles more visible by two variables: increasing the size of your muscle, so building muscle mass, but also enhancing its visibility by reducing the outer coating slightly, which is fat mass. So depending on where you are at the moment, being toned could be 80% of one thing, 20% on the other. It could be 50-50, it could be 90-10.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
As far as more of a focus on building muscle, less on losing fat, or vice versa, maybe you need to lose a bit more fat as a priority more than building muscle.
Yeah, so if you start as overweight, so you have a higher fat mass, to be more toned, you're going to have to prioritize losing fat mass first, of course, whilst building muscle in the process, which we will get to.
Which is where our head spin starts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But if you are quite lean, tiny individual, to become more toned, you don't want to be losing fat mass. You want to prioritize
you've heard the
muscle
whole bulking
gain
phase. You might even need, which is probably not the scope of today's episode, but you might even need to go the other way, and you need to put on more to then start this process.
Well, I actually did want to talk about
cool.
that.
Amazing.
Actually.
Good.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were going that far. Brilliant.
Yeah. I was thinking about the classic bulk and shred, which lots of people use to tone up, because I believe there's a theory that, we're getting into it.
I know.
I believe there's a theory that in order to gain muscle, you have to be in quite a big caloric surplus, so eating more than what your body needs in order to gain muscle mass, because it's like, if you want to build, you can't build from less. Like there's got to be extra being put in there to make something bigger, which just makes sense. It's science. But people do go quite extreme, and that's when you see like the bodybuilders in the bulking phase, and they gain a lot of fat too. They gain heaps of body fat, and I think it links back to the psychology of humans that we're quite extremists. Like there's never like moderating, and we get a kick out of like going one the other. It's like, I'm bulking, I'm gonna go crazy this way, and then I'm gonna shed, and I'm gonna like shred.
I didn't even pick up on it either.
I'm gonna shred, which is just shedding of body fat, but then typical, I'm thinking bodybuilder bros.
Exactly, that's what, and bikini models and stuff. Yeah.
And then they go into extreme caloric deficit, because apparently that's the only way to lose fat. So I don't like that mentality, because it does go against my whole ethos, because I believe that there should be a moderation and things should be able to be long term. Like putting that stress on your body by gaining so much so quickly And the caloric surplus that they put themselves in is quite extreme.
Okay,
And then the restriction in the other way is quite extreme. Like, we talked about it a million times.
Even from like an athletic performance point of view, like if you're an elite athlete, which these bodybuilders I would consider.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing it for your like livelihood, would you still not?
If you're thinking competing.
Yes, competitive.
Like this is your job.
Yeah.
I mean, you can certainly, being in a calorie surplus, you can build your muscle mass a lot quicker. And it's kind of a more effective black and white method to achieve that. And if that's your livelihood and that works for you.
And we're talking like season to season and stuff.
But I'm more thinking about general population that just want to tone up. And unfortunately, people look at the extremists for inspiration. So I'm thinking like young guys wanting to build some muscle mass. They're like, oh, look at this dude. Like he's in bulk season.
Arnie.
Yeah, let me go bulk up.
Times I've been told about Arnold Schwarzenegger's like multiple pizzas and pancakes and The Rock as well. Apparently he put out a thing and it was just like what he eats in a day and it was massive amounts of food. Yeah.
But you've got to remember like that's their, as you said, that is their livelihood. And that is what they can put all their time and energy into. Whereas I'd much prefer that to be achieved more in moderation and can just be a component of your lifestyle for overall health goals. And you will get there and you'll be building better habits and going bulk cut because it's a vicious cycle. You're never going to be happy and you're going to have to continually bulk and cut for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Who wants to do that?
It's not a long-term sustainable option.
No. Mm-hmm. So that's where I wanted to talk about our opinions on the best ways to tone up. Mm-hmm. So like gain muscle mass and lose fat mass in a sustainable way. So I thought I'd start with talking about the science of losing fat first.
Great.
Because it's a pretty complex pathway and situation. And I feel like with toning up, you've got losing fat, you've got gaining muscle. And I feel like the gaining muscle situation is a little bit more straightforward.
Kind of just going to happen.
Yes. Yeah. Like you give your body like a stimulus or a challenge with exercise, your body has to adapt and muscles will ultimately grow in size. But I think we'll talk about that and I'll probably ask you a few more things towards the end.
Perfect.
But I want to go with the harder stuff first. Thanks. So then as I continue along, it kind of is a follow through rather than hearing things I say and then being like, what the heck, where did that come from? So,
cool.
Science, we love it. What I wanted, to start talking about is that fat is a separate tissue to muscle. So when you lose fat, fat doesn't turn into muscle. There needs to be two different pathways.
Yep.
Like you've got fat being broken down and then you've got muscle being built up. Mm-hmm. They are completely different.
Correct.
And for body composition to change and lose fat needs to be mobilized first. So you've got fat in your adipose tissue. Mm-hmm. So they're like larger fat globules. For then fat to be lost, that fat has to be broken down into its smaller components, which is like fatty acids and glycerol. Then that needs to go into your circulation. And then once that's in your circulation, it goes to your mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell. And then a process called beta oxidation occurs.
Yep.
Which then turns the fatty acids and glycerol into a compound called acetyl-CoA, and then that forms energy.
My goodness, I'm just remembering from years ago all these names. Yeah, because I haven't obviously thought about this much. I just come into these episodes and go, oh, I'll let Abby teach me. This is so fun. You kind of think when you say lose fat that I guess I didn't really consider that it would be used as energy.
Right.
I was with you and I go, it breaks down fatty acids. And then I was like, I don't know, liver in like big intestine or something like, and then it just gets excreted. But why didn't I know that? Like I know. I did, but I didn't, I guess, click that you'd have to, like you said, mobilize
use it as energy.
Use your fat.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And that's like, I must admit, when I was like, compiling my thoughts about this topic, even I was like, oh yeah, like because sometimes you think lose fat, it's like it dissolves and comes out as sweat.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is actually a common thought. Like sweat is not fat being lost. Sweat is your body's thermoregulation
Cooling.
technique.
Yeah.
It's indicative of losing or burning energy, but where that energy comes from, you don't know. But yeah, for fat to no longer be a big storage tissue, you need to form energy and use that energy.
Fair.
So you have less fat stores.
But,
Are you just shocked that you didn't even think of that?
I never thought it through that much, I guess.
Yeah.
How is that such a bombshell? Anyway.
I know. No, I get it though, because I'm glad that you found this impactful, because I hope listeners are being like, oh, right, it doesn't just dissolve. Like I actually have to use it as energy.
Because, when you eat stuff more than you need, or like you have too much fluid and it just like comes out through pee, or it just comes out through. Just like
that is fluid.
Get rid of your fat. Like I thought it would just like stream out through.
No, you got to use it as energy.
You got to use it. Cool.
Because fat is an energy storage tissue. That is its purpose primarily.
It does. Cool.
But then the biggest question is how do you use fat as energy?
Yes.
And that's where it gets complicated, because we talked about this a lot. Pretty sure we talked about it heaps in Will Carbs Make Me Gain Weight, which was like episode number 1 about episode number 2. I'm not sure. It's been 52 odd, hasn't it?
One.
Holy moly. But yeah,
then we did a whole fat utilization episode.
We did.
After when we were talking about fasted cardios and stuff.
We did. And I wanted to touch on that a little bit in this episode too. But just as a recap of when our body will choose to use fat as energy. So when we intake food, there's 3 kind of possibilities that can happen. You can use it as immediate energy. You can store it in your glycogen in your muscle tissue or your liver. So they can hold as kind of like a short-term storage, which your body can then draw upon if there's not immediate energy there. Or if your food intake is more than kind of like your glycogen stores and immediate energy, then it goes into adipose tissue as more of a long-term energy storage.
Thinking, when you go to the airport and you can either like drive by and drop someone off, or you have short-term parking, or you have long-term parking.
I love this.
That's what it is.
I'm all about an analogy, and that is a great one. So, yeah, your fat stores are long-term parking.
Yes.
They're designed to be there for a little bit longer. And, it has a purpose. Fat stores, it's not like our body shouldn't have fat stores. Everyone should have fat stores. Absolutely. And there's issues if we don't have enough. But for your body to use the fat stores, it will only go into your fat stores if it doesn't have the energy available there immediately. So your drop and go or your short-term energy. So because it's easier to access glucose from your bloodstream and glycogen from your muscles, because those are both an immediate form of energy eventually.
Yeah.
And it takes much less chemical reactions.
I was going to say the process from the stored version to just energy is much shorter, much easier to do than fat stored to usable energy. It's a much longer process.
Our body prefers to use glucose as an energy source.
Which we've definitely covered before.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So glucose is what circulates in our bloodstream, easy done. Glycogen is larger chains of glucose. So it literally just takes one reaction to break it down into glucose to then use as energy.
Yeah.
Whereas fat stores, as I said, you've got to mobilize the fat, put it into circulation, change it to acetyl-CoA in the mitochondria, and then use it as energy.
Yep.
So our body doesn't really like to do that, which is why fat loss can be difficult because we got to be smart about it. And it is only when there's a lack of available, immediate energy and low glycogen stores that your body will utilize fat as energy. It's like, look, we don't have this, we don't have this. We got to tap into our stores.
So that sounds like an extreme environment or situation.
Well, that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk about this topic, because it actually isn't that extreme.
Yeah.
So it's a calorie deficit, and I feel like that's a buzzword at the moment. A calorie deficit is when a person consumes less food than they burn in a day. So burning doesn't just have to be exercise. It's like survival processes. We've talked about basal metabolic rate. That takes up good 80% of the energy you burn in a day.
Yeah.
But yes, you do have to be in a slight deficit for your body to tap into your fat stores. Because like one like pound of fat, which is like 450 grams, that holds about 3,500 calories of energy, right?
Yeah.
So like science, if you do a little bit of maths, like if you want to lose half a kilo of fat a week, then you have to be in like a weekly deficit of 3,500 calories.
Because you have to burn that energy.
Yes.
Yep.
Because if your body doesn't have that going in, it will break down the fat to provide the energy that it needs.
Yep.
So then, you divide 3,500 by 7, you got average of like 500 calories a day that you need to be having less than what you're burning.
Yeah.
And that's a very oversimplified approach. And I think that can be quite dangerous because, you've got your MyFitnessPal, you've got all those apps that you'll put in your height, you'll put in your weight, you'll put in your activity level. They're like, okay, this is what your basal metabolic rate is. Let's reduce that by 500 calories. And that's the deficit you need to lose 0.5 kgs of fat in a week.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of the goal that people will often select
It's
as part of the
typical,
app.
isn't it?
Yeah. I think I downloaded it to see like what the app offered.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 0.2, 0.5, 1 kilo. So I think that's what that,
I was going to say, not going to go above 1 kilo, is it?
No. Well,
Yeah,
as you see, you can imagine the deficit that it'd put you in, and that isn't.
I can't imagine that would be a fun time.
No.
Being in a deficit that low.
Yeah. So even like 500 calories a day deficit is too much, in my opinion. I don't often work with numbers with clients, but say if I have someone in like the overweight or obese category and we do have quite a significant weight loss goal, like 0.5 kilos a week, then I will do some calculations to figure out like the lowest deficit we can put them in to encourage them to use their fat stores, but not put them into an extreme deficit, which puts their bodily functions at risk. Because if you don't give your bodily functions enough, then that's going to be putting your body in a state of stress.
Yeah.
And then your body isn't going to want to lose the fat stores.
Goes into like protective or overprotective mode as far as like exactly what you said, let's do our base functions first. We can't think about anything else because we're just struggling to like get our GIT going and stuff, right? Yeah,
exactly. So that's one of the biggest things that I wanted to communicate in this episode, like with wanting to lose fat as part of wanting to tone up. Yes, calorie deficit is the way to go, but there's a huge scale as to what that deficit could be. And I want to portray the message that 0.5 kilos a week is quite an extreme goal, but also that your deficit of 5,000 calories a day.
500 calories.
500 calories. Oh my gosh. You'd literally not function. That would not be possible. 500 calories a day that can be achieved through both food and exercise.
That's the thing that you forget. That you don't have just to eat less, you can burn more.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And I think when wanting to tone up, that they are the two ingredients and they can work together, and it's not some massive deficit that you have to go on. You don't have to burn you don't have to exercise for 2 hours a day. Combining like a 300 calorie workout, which is pretty average.
Yeah.
That'd be like 45 minutes of strength training.
Yeah.
Plus like a 200 food deficit, like that's 500.
Yeah.
And that's for a pretty substantial amount of fat loss in a week.
Yeah.
So like, of course, people need to take this information from where they're at the moment. I'm talking from like from the perspective of someone that probably is already doing a bit of exercise, they know a bit about food, and they just really want to optimize. So that's kind of like where my head's at thinking about toning up.
Because I was going to ask, how overweight do you have to be to fall into this category, if that makes sense?
With the 0.5.
Yeah. Or is that okay for anyone?
Well, you can't really...
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, because you'd have to be saying for that to be your goal, you'd have to have a substantial amount of fat to lose.
I guess. I think because I'm thinking it's a longer term goal. But could you just do that for a week?
Yeah.
And have lost half a kilo of fat?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can.
Cool.
So it's like if that's really what you want to do.
Yeah.
But I would more so encourage people to reduce that deficit just slightly. So then your daily deficit is less, and then you're not losing 0.5 in a week, because that's quite a bit. Yeah. General population, it's a matter of probably like 200 calories a day. That's a deficit. And then you'll slowly be chipping away. And then you'll slowly be building muscle in the process if you incorporate exercise as part of your strategies. Mm-hmm. And then that's when you get the sustainable approach.
Yeah. And like you said, general pop. So we have work and family and everything else to contend with as well. So if you make a small change that you can maintain, instead of like, who has the time and effort to just be like, this week I'm only going to concentrate on my food and workouts. Like, it just doesn't happen, right?
Yes.
So if you take the pressure off a little bit with a smaller step,
yes,
then that's nice.
Always assess where you're at the time. Like, write down how many exercise sessions you do a week, what type of food behaviours that you think aren't serving you. Like, do you think your portion sizes are a little bit too much? Are you not having enough protein in your diet? Are you over snacking on refined foods that make you want to eat more? Mm. Is your refined sugar intake too high? Like, I encourage any listener to kind of write down those things and then be like, okay, if I want to tone up, how can I add an extra stimulus to my muscles to build that muscle mass? And how can I adjust my diet slightly to reduce my overall energy intake? Mm-hmm. And I don't mean reduce energy intake by taking away the good stuff. Like, don't subtract your whole grains, fruit, vegetables, healthy fats, good quality sources of protein. That's not what you need to be taking out. No. Like, you just need to be a little bit smarter with your approach, even to the point of, are you having granola for breakfast and are you tipping a whole cup of granola onto your yogurt? We probably don't need that much. You change that to 3/4 of a cup. There you go. You're still eating enough, but just reducing that a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. Are you having 2 scoops of ice cream after dinner? Reduce it to 1. Like, it's just those slightest little changes.
Ones, yeah. Then you don't feel like you're missing out. You don't feel like it's this massive change, or it wouldn't really feel too much like a deficit, I can't imagine.
No, exactly. And like, you know, think about the higher calorie foods. Like, fats are highest in caloric load. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's sometimes where people get stuck with making healthy dietary changes without the guidance of a nutritionist. Mm-hmm. Because healthy food, amazing. Like, I'm thinking nuts, seeds, avocados, granolas. They're all great for you. They're dense in nutrients, but they are also dense in calories. Yeah. So people will be like, but I'm eating healthy. It's like you're having 4 tablespoons of peanut butter, like, on your toast in the morning, and you're having a whole cup of granola where you probably only need a little bit less. Yes. So that does add up. Yes. And if your body isn't in the deficit, yes, it's eating healthy food, but if you've got enough energy immediately available and you have enough in your glycogen stores, then you're not going to be utilizing your fat stores. Mm-hmm. And that's just that. Mm-hmm. It's amazing because you're choosing better options for your body in terms of making it function. You're probably going to feel better in yourself. Mm-hmm. I would definitely say that you'd be feeling better in yourself. Yes. But if toning up and losing body fat is your goal, you just need to make some smarter choices with the foods that you eat. Cool. And that kind of shows how not extreme, like, it actually is to tone up a little bit. And I would, of course, definitely recommend the guidance of a nutritionist to kind of see what your appropriate deficit would be. Because as I said, the apps you put in your goal, they hit your organ functions, take away 500 from that, and you wonder why you're hungry.
Absolutely.
Because you're probably exercising too.
Absolutely.
And then you're ignoring your body's cues for that extra bit of fuel to help with muscle building if you're exercising as well. And if your body is in too much of a deficit, as we said, your stress functions go up. Cortisol will elevate as a response, and cortisol increases your insulin levels as well, and it breaks down glycogen stores more and elevates your blood sugar, so you're not going to be putting your body in the environment to use fat stores. Because if insulin's there, ready to uptake some glucose, and if your glycogen's being broken down to make more glucose, which happens in the stress response, you're not going to be putting your body in the state to tap into your fat stores.
Because who has time in a stress state to go, la-di-da, let's break you down from this big globule to your fatty acid. Oh, now you're going to go into the mitochondria. And, oh, what is this? Acetylcholine, CA, whatever it was. We don't have time to, like, go through that whole process when it's go, go, go time.
Yes, and I think that's, you hear the term calories in versus calories out. Like, it's as simple as that. It's not. Because you have to put your body to lose. Your body doesn't want to let go of its stores, as I said. So you have to put your body in a state where it wants to let go of its precious stores.
In a nice, comfortable, like,
Yeah.
you're okay, you can do
Yeah,
this. Take
right.
your time, break down the stores, you got this.
Yes, you need to baby your body a little bit and be like, look, everything's okay. We're not stressed. We're exercising to improve our body composition. We're not overdoing it.
Yeah.
We're not starving ourselves. Like, everything's okay. Let go. Let go, man. Like, use the fat as energy.
I love it.
We can do
It'll
it.
be okay.
And
you can do this.
That's actually what it is, though.
Perfect.
That's actually what it is. And on that note, I actually had a question when I put in on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you guys want to know about toning up?
Yeah.
Like losing fat, gaining muscle? And someone asked the question, is if it fits your macros the best approach to losing fat?
Definitely heard this one.
Yeah. So if it fits your macros is pretty much you have a macronutrient goal. So you have a certain amount of grams of protein, carbohydrates, and fat that is meant to fit your overall caloric needs. And if you stick to those, you're in a deficit. And then the simplified approach is if you're in a deficit, you're going to lose fat.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mentality of if it fits your macros.
So all I need to hit is this amount of fat, this amount of protein, this amount of carbs each day. It doesn't really matter where they come from. They just need to fit into that ratio.
Yes.
And I'm good to go.
Yeah. And that comes from the simplified approach that, you know, calories in versus calories out. If there's more calories out than calories in, you're going to lose fat.
And you're fine.
So it ticks the deficit box.
Yes.
Definitely. Most of the time, because of the calculations that you will get these things from, like apps and Google things, they will put you in more of an extreme deficit because they go from your basal metabolic rate and they don't know the intensity or the hours of activity. They don't know your stress levels, which will burn extra calories each day.
Don't know how much sleep you get, how much recovery you get.
Yeah. So it hits, if it fits your macros, will hit the deficit part.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't take into consideration is the environment that your body is then going to be in for it to want to utilize your fat stores. Because, yeah, deficit's enough, but as we've said, it takes a lot for your body to want to break down your fat stores. And it takes micronutrients for your body to want to break down your fat stores.
Yeah.
So going back to the good old adipocytes, breaking down to fatty acids, into circulation, into mitochondria, acetyl-CoA, energy, B vitamins, antioxidants, vitamin D, they are all so, so important for that process to occur. And if you're thinking, if it fits your macros, you're thinking carbs, fat, protein. What about all your vitamins and minerals?
And there's no consideration for getting those extra little bits in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Or
it's
those
a
specific bits in. Yeah.
yeah, it's a pathway and that which requires nutrient cofactors. So the cofactors are all your vitamins and minerals. So if your body doesn't have enough of them, it's not going to want to do that pathway. So my answer to that question is if it fits your macros, hits a deficit, but you're not going to optimize your fat loss because you're not taking into account the important micronutrients which allow the fat loss process to occur. And muscle building is an important process too, and that requires nutrient cofactors as well.
Yeah.
Like all your essential amino acids, which you might not think about if you're just hitting a protein goal. You don't think about the variety or the quality of the source.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my answer.
That's fair. So
to that question.
It can work, but not easily. Like, because it's not probably not going to work because you're not considering where the food is coming from.
Yes.
But if you did consider that, then it could work.
Yes, and that's the other side to it. Like with clients of mine, I will work with macronutrient ratios as part of my thinking.
Definitely.
I don't usually give numbers to clients because I don't like that. But in my head, I know that that's what I'm doing.
Well, we've talked about macro mapping. And,
yeah,
and
exactly.
things that you kind of go through. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly what that is, because I will be like, look, you need to have 4 serves of whole grain carbohydrates. In my head, I'm like, okay, well, because that will allow you to have 200 grams of carbohydrates, which fits your macronutrient goal. You've got B vitamins, you've got zinc, you've got fiber for satiation.
Yeah. And you wanted them to be whole grain carbohydrates, which isn't necessarily assumed if you're saying if doesn't fit my macros.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
You could get your carbs from anywhere.
Yeah.
White bread, white pasta, and then you're making your body void of B vitamins. And like all 4 of the enzymes used in fatty acid oxidation, so that's using fat as energy, all 4 enzymes are derived from B vitamins. So B2, B6, B3, and B5.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you're not having foods high in your B vitamins, which is whole grains, which is like eggs, fish, nuts, seeds, in ample amounts, then you're not giving your body the enzymatic power to actually allow this process to occur.
Enzymatic power. I like that.
It just made sense. And that's why I say work with a nutritionist like myself, because that's what you take into account. And heck, if I've got clients with this research that I've actually done for this episode, it has opened my eyes a little bit. And I'm like, hey, look, I could put my clients on a B complex when they're wanting to lose weight, to give your body that extra power for energy production and fatty acid oxidation.
Cool. Yeah.
So that's something that me personally, that I've taken from this research that I've done and I actually haven't implemented with my clients, which I'd actually like to.
Do micronutrients have calories?
No.
No, because they're just vitamins and stuff.
Vitamins and minerals. They're like all the little cofactors. Think about it like making a cake, and it's like the baking powder.
Yeah.
Like it's just a little raising agent in there. But all your... Because you don't use micronutrients. They're helpers, but they won't form energy. They don't contain calories to burn.
Yeah. Which is, fair. Cool,
But they're all little helpers in the process. Nice. So, highly encourage, if you do want to lose some body fat, think about micronutrients, not just macronutrients. B vitamins. Heck, have a Google, food high in B vitamins. Get some more in your diet. Focus on whole grains. Another really important thing is antioxidants.
Mm-hmm.
So antioxidants, we've talked about these. What episode was it? It was about the vegetables.
I was going to say, vegetables really that good for me?
Yes, and the answer is yes, of course they are. Of course they are. Like, seriously,
we talked
guys,
about the
come
rainbow.
on. We did.
Yeah.
And that all different colours of fruits and veg correlate to different antioxidants. And that antioxidants in our bodies, they will provide an electron. Don't think about the science words too much. But they provide a little something for the reactive oxygen species that are kind of going around your body trying to take stuff from your DNA and your protein. They give them what they need, and they're like, oh, we don't actually have to take from your body's genetic material or your body's tissues.
Another one of those things will be okay kind of things.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, because when you exercise, going back to toning up, you will want to increase your exercise intensity in some way to provide that extra stimulus for muscle growth to occur.
Absolutely.
And there's different variables that you can do, like, duration, frequency, intensity, progressive overload, we can talk about that a little bit. But when that happens, it is an acute stress for your body. And like when you create little tears in your muscle fibers as part of exercise, you will increase your oxidative stress, and these like reactive oxygen species will be circulating around your body just as a natural consequence.
Yep.
And with enough antioxidants in your circulation through a variety of colors, your fruits and vegetables, literally it's as simple as 2 and 5, like just go for that.
Yeah.
Then your body will have the help it needs to eliminate the harmful reactive species and allow your body to go, oh, we're not under stress, we're not inflamed. We can actually use our fat stores and let go of our stores as energy.
Cool. Yeah.
It is usually high intensity exercise, so thinking HIIT, heavy lifting, that will increase the reactive oxygen species more. And there's actually been heaps of studies of supplementing bodybuilders and like elite athletes that want to lose body fat with high doses of antioxidants, like vitamin E, to increase their like fatty acid oxidation.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So I got into that rabbit hole a little bit and I was like, this is really cool. So it was like, where's a little bit of the study? So the study, it was a 2021 study.
Nice.
So recent. And it was redox. So redox is like oxidation and reduction, which is involved with antioxidants and the reactive oxygen species.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like how that regulates lipid mobilization, so breaking down your fats or your lipids in adipose tissue. Nice. So it was, an investigation into how oxidation and oxidative stress can impact how your body mobilizes fats to use as energy. And it was like during fat breakdown as well, the adipose tissue generates reactive oxygen species and thus requires a robust antioxidant response to maintain tight regulation of the redox signaling, which allows further fat breakdown to occur.
Cool.
So, they dosed them up with more antioxidants, and that helped the body to let go of more fat stores.
Nice.
So that's really cool.
And that, definitely highlights the whole, if it fits my macros, just not being enough. Because you need these other elements there to optimize this progress, this process.
Like you see chicken and rice, massive bowl of oats, pasta. Yeah, okay, it fits your macros.
It's all beige though.
Yeah, it fits your macros, but what about your macros? Like, where's your antioxidants? Where's your B vitamins for fatty acid oxidation? And also, what about your essential amino acids? So that's one of the last things I wanted to talk about, because to build muscle, for muscle protein synthesis to occur, you need to have all essential amino acids there. Mm-hmm. And this is particularly important for vegans and vegetarians, because usually like your legumes, your beans, your nuts, which you can get your protein from, they are incomplete. So they don't have all your essential amino acids. Mm-hmm. So if you are vegan or vegetarian wanting to tone up, you really have to think about this, because you need to have all your essential amino acids there, particularly branch chain. So like leucine, isoleucine, and valine, they have to be there to reform the muscle tissue and allow it to grow. And
this isn't new. Like there are lots of resources that say partner this with this and you get the complete set. And we've chatted about it before too.
We have. And in the protein powder episode, how you want to find like a fortified vegan protein, or with a combination of your brown rice and your pea protein, so you have a complete amino acid profile. So if it fits your macros, okay, you can get protein from a processed protein bar, tick. But what's the amino acid profile and what's the quality of the protein? Like you need to be thinking about these things. Mm-hmm. Because as well, if your muscles aren't getting what they need, then the muscle growth won't occur. And what can actually happen is if you're in a deficit, which you want to be in for fat loss, your body can kind of go into a catabolic state where it can actually draw on protein as an energy source. Yeah. Because protein can be transformed into acetyl-CoA as well through a different pathway. So if your muscle doesn't have like the growth factors there, your essential amino acids, you're in a stress state, maybe you are overtraining in this pursuit to tone up, you're underfueling with the B vitamins and the antioxidants for fatty acid oxidation, you're not going to go into energy stores. Your body will probably choose protein as a medium to break down, and you're not going to be building muscle.
Not what we want.
No.
Yeah.
So quality of protein is so important,
Yeah.
and amount as well. You want to go for like the 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. I do find that if it fits your macros, calculators will prioritize the protein.
Good.
And probably decrease the fats a little bit because, as we said, fats is more energy dense.
Yep.
And protein needs to be there for the muscle growth to occur. So that is good. It's one of the things that I'm like, okay, it is an all right approach.
They're trying to consider it.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is some thought behind
Yeah.
it. But quality is key and variety is key.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's certainly something
That's
to
cool.
think about.
It really is encouraging, I would think, as well. And like, again, this is what I like about your philosophy, and every time we kind of chat about this stuff is it's not about take out this, take out this, take out this. It's about swap to this or add this or make sure you're considering where this is coming from. Because even then, like when you said whole grain, you said you could have white rice, whatever, but you're like shifting the focus to whole grains, and instead of saying don't have white rice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like,
Yes.
well, don't just limit yourself to not having this. It's saying, look how good B vitamins are for you. Look how good these amino acids. Did you consider antioxidants and what they can do for you?
Yes.
I just love the way that you approach it, and it sounds so inspiring. Instead of going, I have to eat 500 calories less per day, and I have to not have minus more. It's like
just be smart.
Exactly.
That's all I can say. Like, be smart about it, and you don't have to take out all carbs either. That's what people will do. Like, they'll try to exercise, and then they'll take out their carbohydrates. And if your body doesn't have enough carbohydrates to fuel your workout, then you might actually go into protein stores to form the energy that you require for that workout.
And as a trainer, I can see it.
Yeah,
I can
right.
see it in you in that one session. I can see it in you over the weeks. It's very noticeable when someone's not eating properly.
Yes.
And it comes through in the workout. So you're not even getting as high quality workouts as you should be either, because you're not fueled properly for it.
Yeah. And like, be smart about nutrient timing. So if you're thinking about, going into a slight deficit, reducing your caloric intake by like 200 calories a day or something like that, doesn't have to be massive. So, maybe you do reduce your fats a little bit during the day. Maybe you do reduce your carbohydrates from like over consuming 2 cups of pasta to just having 1 cup. But think about when you're exercising. You need carbs more before you exercise. So be smart with that. Okay, I'm exercising now. Have a good portion of my daily carbohydrate needs now. Have it after working out as well, because we know that carbs have a role in muscle protein synthesis as well, and glycogen replenishment. And then maybe for dinner, have a little bit less carbohydrates. Don't cut them out. Carbs don't store as fat after 6 p.m. Like, it's all necessary. But yeah, be smart about what you eat. You don't have to go for an extreme approach. Like, just think about what you do at the moment. What small changes could you make? Think about what energy-dense food you're having in your diet, and nutrient-void foods. Take them out first. I nearly just swore. Don't. Wow.
Doesn't happen very often.
It was
fired up.
I know I am. It was going to be a minor swear word though, but I still won't say it.
Easy to cut out.
Don't take out the good stuff. So people will see carbs first, and they'll start taking out the bread and the pasta and the this and the that. I want you to be like, if that's in my diet, I still need to have it. How can I moderate my portion size and up the nutrient density and the fiber content to make me feel fuller? You don't need 3 cups of pasta. So just have a high fiber pasta. Make sure you have a good amount of protein and load it up with your veggies. Volume eating. You're going to feel more full.
Absolutely.
And you're going to put yourself in more of a deficit than you would if you had creamy pasta sauce with 2 cups of pasta and no veggies.
And it's going to feel good because you're doing something to better your health, which always feels good.
Like, the easiest thing that I will tell clients to like put them in a slight deficit if that's their goal is, think about your higher caloric load meals. I always say pasta. There's nothing wrong with pasta, but I think it's just a staple that people have.
And it's so easy to make and prepare.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or like even curries.
Yeah.
So like imagine just a usual curry with full fat coconut milk, quite a bit of oil, white rice, hardly any veggies. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, literally swap it. Have, reduce your rice portion by like 25%. Add half a cup of cauliflower rice into that, stir it in to make the volume higher, add some veggies, have light coconut milk, choose chicken breast, not chicken thigh. You have changed that immensely.
Cool.
And you're going to feel like you're eating the same amount. It's going to taste just as good. You're going to feel fuller because of the fiber content, and you're giving yourself antioxidants, B vitamins, good amount of good quality protein, not overdoing the fats, which are high in like energy density. And you're going to be putting yourself in a deficit. Like,
that's an easy meal.
It's not that hard.
No.
It's really not. Small changes. And if you'd like some tailored advice for that, if you'd like some recipes, go on my Instagram. What is that? Abbey Renee _. Nutrition. I'm like, where did I put the underscore? Or come see me.
Yeah.
Go on my website.
Yeah.
Fill in a book a consult form, and I can go through your diet. I get people to fill out a 7-day diet diary to see the foods that they like, and I discuss the foods that they like. I'm like, in your ideal world, what foods do you want to be eating whilst achieving your goals?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. Let's think about these small little adjustments. And they're like, oh, I feel like I am so full and eating so much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you're still losing weight, aren't you? Why? Because we're being smart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even from not that perspective, I needed to up my iron, and I wanted to do it through my diet. And exactly that, you asked me, what do I usually eat? And you kept my bread in there. You just got me to buy a slightly different bread that had a bit more iron. And you kept like whatever. I've made these changes, so I can't remember what is there because I just have kept them in. Something about like, adding my seeds to my smoothie or whatever. You just like swapped things and added things. You didn't make me change my whole diet or my whole routine. You just said, why don't we swap this for this or add this here? And you're already having a smoothie, so just put a tablespoon of this in there anyway. And it was really nice.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
It is. It really is. So that's, if you want to tone up, it's not, you don't have to go for an extremist approach. It's
better if you don't.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I don't think there's really very little reasons why you'd have to do that. So it's small dietary changes. It's increasing your exercise. Like that is definitely an easier, simple approach to increasing the amount that you're burning daily, which is going to contribute. And that's not hard either.
Do something that you enjoy. Be consistent. Put effort into it. You'll be right.
Yeah. Yeah, and something that I wanted to touch on as well, once again, with seeing where you're at as a group fitness trainer. Like a perspective that I see quite a lot is I feel like changing up your routine is a really beneficial step to maybe changing your body composition, because I see a lot of dedicated clients and they're coming to classes all the time and they get the initial kind of like beginners changes where they go from nothing to something and your body's like, okay, cool, let's adapt. But then with group fitness, there's less of a chance for it to be individually tailored and there's less like progressive overload, and your body will likely get used to the intensity and the load of the exercise. Yes, it feels different because the choreography is different, like, body pump or bar classes or things like that. But I would highly recommend changing up your routine if you want to just push your body just that little bit more, and maybe see a PT or an exercise physiologist, gold standard, to, once again, train smart. It's not about training harder, it's about training smarter.
And more than likely the group fitness class is aerobically
challenging.
Yeah, because it's easier to do in a group.
For sure.
Just absolutely. So adding in more resistance training is going to be golden for you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And personally, that is what has changed my body composition over the last year, because I was a group class gal and I was going all the time. I was like training hard, but it was aerobically and I wasn't training smart. So as soon as I switched my thinking, I kind of was put myself in a nutritionist's shoes, but what would I do with exercise?
Yeah.
And I was like, you've got to be more specific. You've got to choose the muscle groups that you want to change. You've got to progressively overload them and you've got to do it consistently. Yeah. And that's exactly what I've done.
It's beautiful.
And it has literally worked.
It does. It does work.
It does work.
It just works.
Train smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And like think about another way that you could up your energy expenditure slightly. So another thing I'd do if I wanted to tone up slightly, like short term, is just up my cardio a little bit during the weeks.
Couple more steps.
Yeah.
A little bit more time on a rower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be fasted. So listen to the fasted or fueled episode because yes, when you're fasted, your body has less of the glycogen stores and less of the immediate energy available, which we've talked about. So it'll be more likely to use fats because that's what's there. But if you're doing fasted cardio and it's putting your body in a stressed state, it's very individualized whether or not your body will respond well to it. But if your body's got high cortisol circulating in there, it's underfed, you're not going to be tapping into that. Mm-hmm. And then as a result of that, if your insulin elevates because your cortisol is higher, you're going to get cravings for like higher energy foods. You're going to go for refined sugars. You're probably going to overconsume in that aspect. And you've tried to take a step forward with doing fasted cardio and you're taking 2 steps back.
Much. It's just too much.
Yeah, because your body obviously hasn't responded well to it.
Yeah.
So just up your steps, but when it suits you, because it's a daily.
Again, be
it's
nice.
A daily picture.
Be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun experience and a stressful experience.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Like, I've enjoyed being smarter about my food and exercise so much over the last year. Like, it's been good to actually, I said to, I think maybe it was my mum, I was like, I feel like I'm the fittest I've been and the strongest I've been, and my body composition is probably the best it's been, but I'm enjoying every aspect of my training and my nutrition.
That's so fun.
Like, because you're just a bit of thought. Yeah. Like, and I sat down with myself and treated myself like a client. I've had good chats to you. Yeah. So reach out for help if that's what you want. Yeah. Like, stop guessing. Like, come see someone that knows.
It's why we put in years of our life to study this stuff, so we can help you.
Yeah. And that's certainly on my radar. I'd love to do kind of like programs for that type of stuff, like losing body fat and gaining muscle mass in a sustainable way that then I can individualize. So that's on my radar.
That's really cool.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Especially after I get my PT certification.
So exciting. Coming in.
Yes. Can't wait.
Amazing.
But I think that's all I wanted to talk about.
Cool. I think it sounded good.
I think it's
excited.
Covered.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, send in questions if there's anything else you want to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, that probably marks that I'm officially on maternity leave now. And this will be the last episode of the year, we're thinking. I think we'll come back fresh next year. So I can go off and have my baby and prioritise that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're definitely coming back. Just having a bit of a break.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to us. Keep talking. We'll still be active on socials and we'll be around and we'll be contactable. But just want to get this beautiful audio or video recording of us every fortnight.
Yes. Oh, so sad.
I'm so excited.
I know. Shelby's got the most gorgeous little baby belly. So exciting. She's going to have, next time we record an episode, you have a child.
I'll have a child.
Oh, man.
Right,
that's a lot.
All right. B vitamins, amino acids, and antioxidants.
Yes.
Do that.
Think about macros. Like, deficit is the way that you're probably going to utilize your fat stores, but be smart about it. If you go in too much of a deficit, you're going to be putting your body in a stressed state. You're probably going to be missing essential nutrients as well, which have an importance in fatty acid oxidation. Increase your exercise. Doesn't have to be extreme. See someone that can tailor the deficit to you and where your life's at. Like looking at your job, looking at your stress levels, looking at your hormones as well, because they play a part. Didn't go on that today, but in consults, I definitely do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Be smart about your food. Think about nutrient density. What can you add in? Think about your veg. Load them up so you feel full. Be smart with the healthy fat choices. Good quality protein. Look at you go.
Bob's your uncle.
Just like that, you've toned up just listening to this.
Just that I can already feel stronger. I feel leaner. All right.
Wow. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Abby. That was excellent.
Thanks, girl.
All right. See you guys around.